Hey, story lovers, buckle up for an emotional ride through Atlanta's heart, where a storm's brewing and a life-changing moment is about to unfold. If you're as excited as I am to dive into this tale of love, loss, and second chances, hit that like button to show some love. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a chapter. Where is this story headed? Drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear your thoughts. Let's get started. Nia Thompson, a 32-year-old Black American photographer, stood in her cozy Atlanta loft, her rich brown hand pressed against the cool, rain-streaked window. Outside, the sky churned with dark clouds, and a jagged bolt of lightning sliced through the night, casting Peachtree Street below in a fleeting, ghostly glow. At 7:00 p.m., the storm's rumble seemed to echo the tightening in her belly, contractions that had started an hour ago, each sharper. Nia's deep brown eyes, framed by thick lashes, narrowed as she timed the latest wave. 40 seconds, stronger than before. She gripped the windowsill, her breath slow and deliberate, her complete lips pursed against the pain. For years, Nia had built a life on her terms. Her photography studio, tucked in Atlanta's vibrant West End, was a testament to her hustle, capturing newborn smiles, wedding vows, and family reunions with a lens that saw joy in every frame. At 32, her warm, ebony skin glowed with the resilience of a woman who'd turned dreams into reality, one shutter click at a time. But tonight, her camera gear sat silent on the oak dining table. Lenses, tripods, and memory cards holding other people's stories. Tonight, Nia was writing her own, one she'd chosen to author alone. The decision to raise her baby solo hadn't been easy. 9 months ago, a brief romance with Malik, a charming but fleeting presence, had left her pregnant. Nia, fiercely independent, decided not to tell him. She wanted her child free from the complications of a relationship that had burned bright but fizzled fast. "This is ours, little one," she whispered, her hand cradling her swollen belly, her voice soft against the storm's roar. Her dark curls, pulled into a messy bun, framed a face flushed with anticipation and a flicker of fear. She'd photographed dozens of births, capturing those raw, primal moments of life's beginning, but experiencing it herself was different, terrifying, exhilarating, real. Another contraction hit, this one forcing her to lean against the wall, her breath catching. She counted, 50 seconds, the pressure wrapping her midsection like a vice. When it passed, she straightened, one hand supporting her lower back, the other resting on her belly. "Okay, baby," she said, her tone steady, despite the tremor in her chest. "We're doing this." Her overnight bag, packed weeks ago, waited by the door. A practical duffel stuffed with comfortable clothes, toiletries, and a soft green onesie she'd bought when she learned she was pregnant. Green, because Nia wanted to meet her child without expectations, ready to love them fiercely, boy or girl. The loft felt smaller tonight, its exposed brick walls and hardwood floors closing in as thunder rolled again. Nia's eyes darted to a framed photo on the shelf, a younger her, laughing at an Atlanta street festival, arm in arm with friends from her photography collective. The West End's soulful energy, jazz notes from nearby clubs, the aroma of collard greens from a neighbor's kitchen, had always grounded her. But now, along with her baby's imminent arrival, she felt the weight of her choice to go solo. She'd built a community here, yet tonight, it was just her and the life inside her, ready to face the unknown. She glanced at the mirror by the door, her reflection showing a woman transformed. Her dark skin glistened with sweat, her eyes wide with resolve and vulnerability. At 32, she looked both younger, vibrant with purpose, and older, as if labor was aging her in real time. "You've got this," she told herself, the mantra she'd repeated for months. "You've survived worse." Heartbreak, hustle, the grind of building her business. She'd faced it all. Motherhood was just the next challenge, one she'd meet head-on. Nia grabbed her keys and bag, pausing as another contraction built, now 5 minutes apart. Her birthing class instructor's voice echoed, "Head to the hospital at 4 minutes." But instinct screamed not to wait. She slung the bag over her shoulder, the green onesie a promise of the love waiting on the other side. As she stepped into the hallway, the storm's howl followed her, a reminder that some moments, wild, unstoppable, changed everything. Atlanta's streets awaited, slick with rain and possibility, as Nia Thompson, black, bold, and unbreakable, prepared to meet her child. Wow, what a start. Can you feel the tension building with Nia and that Atlanta storm? If this opening's got you hooked, smash that like button to keep the vibes high and subscribe to catch every twist in this journey. Tell us in the comments, what will Nia's baby be like and how will this storm change her life? Hit that bell so you're ready for part 2. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Welcome back, story fans. We're diving deeper into Nia's wild night in Atlanta, where a storm is raging and a life-changing moment is unfolding. If you're hooked on this tale of courage and unexpected twists, tap that like button to keep the energy high, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on so you don't miss what's coming next. Got predictions about Nia's journey? Drop them in the comments. I'm all ears. Let's roll into the chaos. Nia gripped the steering wheel of her old Honda, windshield wipers battling a torrent of rain as she navigated Atlanta's slick streets. The city's pulse, usually vibrant with food trucks serving peach cobbler and jazz spilling from sweet Auburn bars, felt muted under the storm's relentless drumbeat. Each contraction tightened her belly like a steel band, forcing her to pull over twice, breathing through clenched teeth as headlights blurred past. Her hands trembled, not just from pain, but from the weight of what lay ahead, meeting her baby, alone, in a world that felt as untamed as the lightning flashing overhead. She swerved onto Piedmont Avenue, passing the glowing marquee of the Fox Theater, a beacon in the downpour. Another contraction hit, this one so fierce she gasped, clutching the wheel until her knuckles whitened. "Hold on, little one," she murmured, her voice a shaky anchor. The hospital was close, but every second stretched like an eternity. Nia thought of her West End neighbors, Miss Lena's Sunday potlucks, the barbershop debates she'd photographed for her portfolio. That community had carried her through tough days, but tonight, it was just her and the life inside her, racing toward Atlanta General. The emergency entrance loomed ahead, its glass doors reflecting the storm's chaos. Nia parked crookedly, grabbed her bag, and stumbled through the rain, her shirt clinging to her skin. The automatic doors slid open, flooding her senses with harsh fluorescent light, a jarring shift from the dark, wet night. She squinted, another contraction buckling her knees. Before she could speak, a nurse with a warm southern drawl and gray-streaked braids rushed forward, her name tag reading Evelyn. "Easy, sugar," Evelyn said, guiding Nia into a wheelchair with practiced ease. "You're in labor, aren't you?" "Contractions. 3 minutes apart," Nia panted, gripping the armrests as pain surged again. Evelyn's eyes, kind but sharp, assessed her quickly. "You're moving fast, darling. Let's get you to obstetrics." The lobby buzzed with controlled chaos. Paramedics wheeling a stretcher, a family huddled in prayer, the sharp scent of antiseptic cutting through the air. Evelyn pushed Nia through corridors lined with posters of Atlanta's health fairs, a nod to the city's tight-knit community spirit. But the storm had other plans. The lights flickered, then dimmed, plunging the hospital into eerie emergency lighting as a transformer blew outside. "Power's out in this wing," a voice called from the hallway. "Storms are wreaking havoc." Evelyn didn't flinch, her calm presence grounding Nia as they sped toward the obstetrics ward. Lightning illuminated the Atlanta skyline through rain-streaked windows, casting long shadows across the tiled floors. Nia's heart pounded, not just from labor, but from the surreal intensity of the moment. She'd captured births before, raw, joyful, messy, but now she was the one in the frame, her body dictating the rhythm she couldn't control. They reached the delivery room, a sterile space softened by Evelyn's steady chatter. "She said that I've seen storms like this bring babies into the world strong, adjusting monitors with deft hands. You're gonna be just fine." Nia managed a weak smile, but another contraction stole her breath, this one lasting nearly a minute. She gripped the wheelchair, her vision blurring at the edges. "It's happening too fast," she gasped. Evelyn checked her watch, her brow furrowing. "You're right, sugar. We need a doctor now." Footsteps echoed in the hall, quick and purposeful. The door swung open, and a tall figure in scrubs stepped into the dim light, his silhouette sharp against the flickering emergency glow. Nia's pain-clouded eyes struggled to focus, but the voice, deep, calm, achingly familiar, cut through her haze like a knife. "What do we have?" it asked, and her stomach dropped. It couldn't be. Not here. Not now. She forced herself to look up, meeting the blue eyes of Dr. Ethan Cole, her ex-husband, standing in the doorway like a ghost from her past. The room seemed to shrink, the storm's roar fading to a distant hum. Nia's breath caught, not from pain, but from the impossible collision of her present and past. Evelyn rattled off stats: dilation, contraction timing, fetal heart rate. But Nia barely heard her. Ethan's gaze locked with hers, his professional mask slipping for a split second, revealing shock and something deeper, something unspoken. They'd been a family 4 years ago, dreaming of a future. Now, he was just a doctor, and she was just a patient. Or so she told herself as another contraction pulled her under, forcing her to focus on the life demanding to be born. Talk about a cliffhanger. Can you feel the storm's intensity and that jaw-dropping reunion? If this part's got your heart racing, smash that like button to keep the story's fire burning, and subscribe with that bell to catch every twist. What do you think's running through Nia's mind right now? Share your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to see your guesses. Part 3's coming soon, and it's only getting wilder. Hey, story lovers. We're back in the heart of Atlanta's storm, where Nia's labor is about to take a turn no one saw coming. If this roller coaster of emotions grips you, hit that like button to keep the spark alive, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every twist. What do you think happens when the past crashes into the present? Drop your guesses in the comments. I'm all in for your reactions. Let's dive into the drama. The delivery room at Atlanta General Hospital pulsed with urgency, its dim emergency lights casting long shadows across sterile walls. Nia gripped the bed rails, her breath ragged as another contraction seized her, the pain a tidal wave pulling her under. Nurse Evelyn's steady hands adjusted monitors, her voice a soft anchor. "You're doing great, sugar. Just breathe." But Nia's focus shattered when the door swung open, and a tall figure in scrubs stepped in, his silhouette sharp against the flickering glow. His voice, deep, calm, achingly familiar, cut through the chaos. "What do we have?" Her heart stopped. It was Ethan Cole, her ex-husband, standing there like a specter from a life she'd buried 4 years ago. Their eyes locked, and the world seemed to pause. The storm outside, the beeping monitors, and Evelyn's murmured instructions faded to a distant hum. Ethan's blue eyes widened, his surgical mask hiding all but the shock in his gaze. Nia's mind reeled, pain mingling with disbelief. How could he be here now, when she was most vulnerable? They'd been partners 4 years ago, dreaming of a family in their cozy Decatur bungalow. But grief had torn them apart, leaving only silence and regret. Now, he was just a doctor, and she was just a patient. Or so she told herself, as another contraction forced a gasp from her lips. "Ethan," she whispered, his name a reflex before she could stop it. His posture stiffened, but his voice stayed steady, professional. "Nia, we need to focus. You're close." He moved to her side, his hands snapping on gloves with practiced precision. Evelyn glanced between them, her sharp eyes catching the unspoken tension. "You two know each other?" she asked, her southern drawl tinged with curiosity. Nia nodded faintly, unable to form words as pain surged again. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, his focus shifting to the monitors. 8 centimeters dilated, he noted, his tone clinical. Contraction 2 minutes apart. This baby's coming fast. Nia's hands clenched the rails, her body trembling as the reality sank in. Ethan, the man who'd once vowed to love her through anything, was about to deliver her child, a child she'd planned to raise alone. Memories flashed unbidden. Their wedding at Piedmont Park, the azaleas in bloom, his laughter as they danced to Coltrane under string lights. Then, the darker days, hospital rooms, a silent nursery, his absence as he buried himself in work. She'd left to protect herself, to rebuild in Atlanta's West End, where the community's warmth, street festivals, soul food potlucks had healed her. Now, fate had dragged them back together. "Stay with me, Nia," Ethan said, his voice cutting through her haze. He knelt beside her, his eyes locking with hers, steady despite the storm's chaos outside. "You're strong. You can do this." The words echoed the mantra she'd clung to, but hearing them from him stirred a mix of trust and resentment. She wanted to scream, to demand why he was here, but another contraction hit, forcing her to focus. Evelyn squeezed her shoulder, her presence a lifeline. "He's right, darling. You've got this. Let's bring this baby home." The room hummed with controlled urgency. Ethan called for more light, the emergency bulbs casting his face in stark relief. Nia noticed the lines around his eyes, deeper than she remembered, a reminder of the years apart. Evelyn reported that her fetal heart rate is steady, and her hands are deft on the equipment. Nia's body took over, an ancient rhythm driving her forward. She pushed with each contraction, pain blurring her vision, but Ethan's voice anchored her. "Good, Nia. Just like that," he said. His calm authority intrinsically contrasts with the chaos in her heart. She hated that she trusted him, hated that his presence felt steadying, like it had in their best days. As the contractions grew closer, Nia's thoughts spiraled. Why Ethan? Why now? Atlanta General was huge. How had he ended up in her delivery room? She pictured the city outside, its MARTA trains rumbling, its street vendors braving the rain. Atlanta had been her refuge, its vibrant culture, jazz clubs, art murals, a balm for her wounds. Yet here was Ethan, a piece of her past she couldn't escape. Another push, another wave of pain, and she cried out, her voice raw. Evelyn's hand found hers, grounding her. "Almost there, sugar," she soothed. Ethan's eyes met Nia's again, and for a moment, she saw not the doctor, but the man who'd once held her through her darkest nights. The storm outside roared, a distant thunderclap syncing with Nia's final push. her body strained, every muscle screaming as Ethan and Evelyn worked together. "One more," Ethan urged, his voice urgent yet gentle. Nia bore down, and the world shifted. A release, a cry, a new life breaking through the chaos. Ethan's hands moved swiftly, and Nia waited, breathless, for the sound that would change everything. Holy moly, what a reunion. Nia and Ethan are in the delivery room. Can you feel the sparks and stakes face to face? If this twist has you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button to keep the story blazing. And subscribe with the bell on to catch every moment. What's going through Ethan's mind now? And what's next for Nia's baby? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm hooked on your takes. Part 4 is coming, and it will dive deeper. Don't miss it. Hey, story fans, we're knee-deep in Nia's stormy night at Atlanta General, where her ex-husband Ethan just walked into her delivery room. The tension's electric, and we're about to uncover the heartbreak that tore them apart. If this drama's got you hooked, tap that like button to keep the fire burning, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on to catch every twist. What broke Nia and Ethan? And can they face it now? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm all in for your takes. Let's step into their past. The delivery room's dim emergency lights flickered, casting jagged shadows as Nia clung to the bed rails, her body racked by another contraction. Pain blurred her vision, but Ethan's presence, his steady voice, his blue eyes locked on hers, cut through the haze like a blade. "Breathe, Nia," he said, his tone calm but taut, like a man bracing for impact. Nurse Evelyn bustled nearby, checking monitors. Her warm drawl was a faint comfort. "You're almost there, sugar." But Nia's mind wasn't in the present. Ethan's voice dragged her back 4 years, to a time when love was their world, and loss was its end. Her memory flickered like the storm outside, pulling her to a humid Atlanta evening at the High Museum. She'd been showcasing her photography, vibrant shots of West End street festivals, kids dancing in Summer Hills parks. When Ethan approached, his quiet confidence drawing her in. They'd talked for hours, his laughter easy as they swapped stories over drinks at a nearby jazz lounge, the saxophone's wail weaving through their words. Their connection was instant, a spark that grew into late-night walks along the Beltline, shared plates of fried catfish at Pascal's, and dreams of a future filled with kids and adventure. Their wedding at Piedmont Park, with azaleas blooming and friends cheering, felt like Atlanta was blessing them. But the memory shifted, darkening like the storm clouds outside. 2 years into their marriage, Nia was pregnant with their son, Noah. They'd painted a nursery in their Decatur bungalow, picking out a crib at a Ponce City market shop, Ethan's hands tracing her belly as they imagined his first steps. Then, at 20 weeks, the ultrasound showed no heartbeat. The hospital room, cold and sterile, swallowed their hope. Nia wept, clinging to Ethan. But he grew distant, his grief locked behind a wall of silence. He threw himself into work at Atlanta General, saving other babies while Nia mourned alone, her camera untouched, her heart hollow. Their cozy home became a battleground of unspoken pain, empty coffee mugs, unanswered questions, nights spent on opposite sides of the bed. Nia tried to reach him, leaving notes on his scrubs and suggesting walks through Oakland Cemetery to talk. But Ethan's eyes, once warm, were shadowed, his replies clipped. "I'm fine," he'd say, heading to another shift. She'd wander Atlanta's streets, passing murals in Cabbagetown, seeking solace in the city's pulse. The silence grew, a chasm neither could bridge. When Nia left, packing her things and moving to her West End loft, Ethan didn't stop her. Their divorce was quiet, final. Like a door closing on a life they'd both loved, she rebuilt herself through her lens, capturing Atlanta's joy. Graduations at Morehouse, festivals in Grant Park, while burying her grief. Now, in the delivery room, the past collided with the present. Ethan's voice snapped her back. "Nia, you're at 10 centimeters. It's time to push." His gloved hands moved with precision, but his eyes held a flicker of something raw. Regret, maybe, or recognition. Nia's breath hitched, not just from pain, but from the weight of seeing him here. In this moment she'd planned to face alone. She'd raised this baby solo, protecting it from the complications of her brief fling with Malik. But Ethan's presence, steady and unyielding, stirred memories of the man who'd once promised her forever. "Focus, darling," Evelyn urged, her hand firm on Nia's shoulder. The nurse's warmth, honed from years in Atlanta's hospitals, grounded her. Nia pushed, her body straining, but her mind clung to Ethan's face. Older now, etched with lines of loss and responsibility. Had he thought of her in these 4 years? Had he walked past their old haunts, the coffee shop in Inman Park, the bookstore where they'd read poetry aloud? Another contraction hit, and she cried out, the pain merging with the ache of their shared history. Ethan's voice was steady. "You're doing great, Nia. One more push." The storm outside roared, a thunderclap shaking the windows. Nia's world narrowed to this room, this moment, this impossible reunion. She hated how his calm steadied her, how his presence felt like an anchor she'd forgotten she needed. Evelyn's eyes flicked between them, sensing the unspoken story. "You've got this," she said, her voice a lifeline. Nia nodded, tears stinging as she pushed again, her body and heart stretched to their limits. Ethan was here, not just as a doctor, but as a ghost of what they'd lost. And in the space between pain and possibility, her baby was coming. What a plunge into the past. Nia and Ethan's history is unraveling. Can they face it in the heat of this moment? If this part's got your emotions swirling, hit that like button to keep the story's pulse strong, and subscribe with the bell for what's next. What do you think broke them? And can they heal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm hooked on your insights. Part 5's coming, and it's a game changer. Stay tuned. Welcome back, story lovers. We're in the thick of Nia's stormy night at Atlanta General, where her ex-husband Ethan is about to deliver her baby. The tension's sky high, and a miracle's on the way. If this tale's got you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button to keep the vibes soaring, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every twist. What will this birth mean for Nia and Ethan? Drop your predictions in the comments. I'm buzzing to hear them. Let's dive into this life-changing moment. The delivery room at Atlanta General pulsed with urgency, its emergency lights casting a soft glow over sterile equipment. Nia gripped the bed rails, her knuckles tight, as a contraction tore through her, raw and relentless. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her breath ragged, but Ethan's voice cut through the pain. "You're doing amazing, Nia. One more push." His calm authority anchored her, even as her heart wrestled with his presence. Nurse Evelyn stood close, her warm hand on Nia's shoulder, her southern drawl steady. "You've got this, sugar. Your baby's almost here." Outside, the storm battered Atlanta, thunder rumbling like a distant drum roll for the life about to begin. Nia's body surged with an ancient rhythm, each push a step closer to meeting her child. She'd planned this moment alone, her West End loft filled with dreams of solo motherhood, inspired by the fierce women of Atlanta's community, artists, activists, mothers, who'd shown her strength. But Ethan, her ex-husband, stood at the foot of the bed, his gloved hands ready, his blue eyes focused despite the flicker of shock from their reunion. 4 years ago, their shared loss had broken them. But now, in this chaotic moment, he was her lifeline. Fetal heart rates dropping, Evelyn said suddenly, her voice sharp as she checked the monitor. Nia's breath caught, fear spiking through her pain. Ethan's posture shifted, his calm unbroken, but his movements swift. Shoulder dystocia, he said, his tone commanding yet gentle. Nia, stop pushing for a moment. Let me guide the baby. Her eyes met his, and despite the years of hurt, she trusted him. His skill, his steadiness, the man who'd once been her home. She nodded, tears streaming, and held her breath, her body trembling with effort and fear. Ethan's hands moved with precision, years of training taking over. He adjusted Nia's position, his touch professional but tender, and gently maneuvered the baby's shoulder free. "Okay, Nia, now, push," he said, his voice a beacon. She bore down with everything she had, a cry ripping from her throat as the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, a release. A slippery, perfect form slid into Ethan's waiting hands. A piercing wail filled the room, and Nia's heart leaped. Her baby was here, alive, vibrant. "She's perfect," Ethan said, his smile breaking through his professional mask, genuine and unguarded. He cleared the baby's airway, checked reflexes, and counted tiny fingers and toes with practiced ease. Nia watched, breathless, as he wrapped the newborn in a soft blanket, her dark curls peeking out. "Your daughter," he said softly, placing her on Nia's chest. The moment their skin touched, Nia's world shifted. Pain melted into wonder, exhaustion into love. She looked down at her daughter, her tiny face scrunched in newborn curiosity, and whispered, "Hello, Zoe Elaine." The middle name, Elaine, was Ethan's mother's, a choice Nia hadn't planned but felt right, a quiet nod to their past. Evelyn beamed, her eyes misty. "She's a beauty, just like her mama." She bustled around, checking vitals, her warmth filling the room like a hug from Atlanta's soulful streets. Nia's fingers traced Zoe's cheek, marveling at her daughter's warmth and tiny breaths. She'd done this, brought life into the world, against the storm, against the odds. But Ethan's presence lingered, his hands trembling slightly as he stepped back, his role complete. Their eyes met again, and for a moment, the room held only them and Zoe, a fragile thread connecting past and present. Nia's mind flickered to Atlanta outside, the city's heartbeat, jazz clubs, and food trucks waiting to welcome her daughter. She'd planned to raise Zoe alone, her camera capturing their journey, just as she'd captured families at Centennial Olympic Park. But Ethan's steady hands, his calm in crisis, stirred something she wasn't ready to name. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice raw. Ethan nodded, his expression unreadable, but his eyes held a weight, regret, hope, something more profound. Evelyn glanced between them, her knowing smile hinting at stories she'd seen unfold in these halls. As the storm's roar softened outside, Nia held Zoe closer, her daughter's warmth grounding her. This was her moment, her miracle, but Ethan's presence was a question she couldn't answer yet. Had fate brought him here to heal or to hurt? She didn't know, but as Zoe's tiny fist curled around her finger, Nia felt fierce love. Whatever came next, she'd face it, for Zoe, herself, and the life they'd build in Atlanta's vibrant embrace. What a moment. Zoe's here, and Nia and Ethan's worlds collided most beautifully. If this birth scene's got your heart full, hit that like button to celebrate this new life, and subscribe with the bell to follow their journey. What's next for Nia, Zoe, and Ethan? Share your guesses in the comments. I'm dying to know your thoughts. Part 6 is coming, and it will shift perspectives. Don't miss it. Hey, story lovers. We're still reeling from Zoe's birth in that stormy Atlanta delivery room, where Nia and her ex-husband, Ethan, faced a heart-stopping reunion. Now, let's shift to Ethan's side of the story. What's going through his mind? If this tale's tugging at your heartstrings, hit that like button to keep the emotions flowing, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every twist. What's Ethan feeling after this moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm all in for your insights. Let's dive into his turmoil. Ethan Cole stepped into the hallway of Atlanta General, peeling off his surgical gloves with hands that trembled despite his 15 years of delivering babies. The dim emergency lights flickered, casting shadows that danced like his racing thoughts. Zoe's wail still echoed in his ears, a piercing reminder of the life he'd just helped bring into the world. Nia's face, radiant, exhausted, fierce, lingered in his mind, her dark curls framing eyes that held trust and pain. Delivering her daughter had cracked the walls he'd built around his heart, walls that had stood since their marriage crumbled 4 years ago. He leaned against the cool hospital wall, the antiseptic scent sharp in his nose. The storm outside was fading, its thunder a distant growl over Atlanta's skyline. But inside Ethan, a different storm raged. He'd seen Nia's strength in that delivery room, her resolve as she pushed through pain, and it took him back to their early days. They'd met at the High Museum, her vibrant photographs drawing him in like a moth to flame. Their nights at Pascal's, sharing stories over sweet tea and cornbread, had felt like home. He'd fallen for her laugh, her fire, the way she saw beauty in Atlanta's bustling streets, Castleberry Hill markets, kids playing in Grant Park. But losing their son, Noah, had broken them. Ethan had buried his grief in work, taking extra shifts, delivering other people's babies to numb the pain of their empty nursery. He'd thought he was protecting Nia by staying strong, but his silence pushed her away. She'd needed him to grieve with her, to hold her through the tears, but he'd failed her. When she left their Decatur bungalow, he let her go, too proud to admit he was drowning. Now, seeing her with Zoe, cradling her daughter with a love so fierce it took his breath away, he felt the weight of his mistakes. Ethan's hand brushed the pocket of his scrubs, where he kept a worn photo from their wedding. A candid shot of Nia laughing under Piedmont Park's string lights, his arms around her. He hadn't looked at it in years, but couldn't let it go. Delivering Zoe wasn't just another case, but a glimpse of what could have been. Nia had planned to raise this child alone, but her strength was forged in Atlanta's West End, where she'd rebuilt her life through her lens. Ethan wasn't Zoe's father. He knew that, or so he thought. But the moment felt like a second chance, one he didn't deserve, but couldn't stop wanting. Nurse Evelyn was wrapping up inside the delivery room, her warm chatter filling the silence as she checked Nia's vitals. Ethan lingered in the hallway, his heart pounding. He remembered their last fight, Nia's voice breaking as she begged him to talk, to feel something. He'd walked away, burying himself in charts and surgeries, thinking time would fix them. It hadn't. Atlanta had moved on. New murals in Cabbagetown, festivals at Centennial Olympic Park. But Ethan had stayed stuck, haunted by the life they'd lost. Seeing Nia now, radiant despite the pain, stirred a longing he'd tried to forget. He paced the corridor, passing a poster for an Atlanta health fair, a reminder of the city's vibrant community. Nia had found solace there, her photography capturing its spirit, families at Sweet Auburn's markets, dancers at local block parties. Ethan had stayed on the sidelines, his world confined to hospital walls. But delivering Zoe had shifted something. Her tiny face, her fierce cry, echoed Noah's memory, but also something new. Hope, maybe, or redemption. Nia's whispered thank you in the delivery room had hit him like a punch. her voice carrying trust he hadn't earned. Evelyn emerged, her eyes sharp but kind. "She's stable, Dr. Cole. Beautiful baby girl. You did well in there." Ethan nodded, his throat tight. "Thanks, Evelyn. How's Nia?" Evelyn's smile softened, sensing more than he said. "She's a fighter, holding that baby like her whole world. You two got some history, don't you?" Ethan managed a half smile, avoiding the question. "Just make sure they're okay." Evelyn nodded, her gaze lingering, as if she saw the storm in his chest. Ethan glanced back at the delivery room door. He should walk away, return to the doctor's lounge, and move on to the following case. That's how it worked. Deliver the baby, step back, let the family begin. But Nia wasn't just a patient, and Zoe wasn't just a newborn. He whispered to himself, "I can't lose her again." The words a plea to a universe that had already taken so much. The storm outside had quieted, but Ethan's world was shifting inside, pulling him toward a future he couldn't yet see, one tied to Nia, to Zoe, to a city that held their past and maybe their hope. Talk about a heart-wrenching moment. Ethan's past and present collide. What will he do with this chance? If this part's got you feeling his struggle, tap that like button to keep the story's heart beating, and subscribe with the bell for what's next. Can Ethan find a way back to Nia? Share your predictions in the comments. I'm hooked on your thoughts. Part 7's coming, bringing a shocking twist. Don't miss it. Welcome back, story fans. We're diving deeper into Nia and Ethan's journey in Atlanta, where Zoe's birth has stirred up emotions and secrets. A bombshell's about to drop. Can you feel it? If this tale's gripped you, smash that like button to keep the suspense alive, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every twist. What's coming for Nia and Ethan? Drop your guesses in the comments. I'm buzzing to hear them. Let's unravel this mystery. 3 months after Zoe's stormy birth, Nia sat cross-legged on her West End loft's hardwood floor, sunlight streaming through the windows, casting warm patterns across her photography gear. Zoe napped in her bouncer, her tiny chest rising and falling, a soft coo escaping her lips. Nia smiled, her heart swelling at her daughter's peaceful face, those dark curls, that stubborn little chin. Her camera on the table held memories of Atlanta's vibrancy, families laughing at Sweet Auburn's festivals, couples dancing at Piedmont Park. But today, her focus was on Zoe, the center of her world, a life she'd built alone after a fleeting romance with Malik. Her phone buzzed, the screen flashing Atlanta General Hospital. Nia's stomach tightened, expecting a routine follow-up. "Ms. Thompson, this is Dr. Sarah Patel from the genetics department," a calm voice said. "We need to discuss Zoe's newborn screening results." Nia's grip tightened on the phone, her breath catching. "Is something wrong?" she asked, her voice barely steady. Dr. Patel paused, papers rustling. Not bad, exactly, but unusual. Routine tests flagged genetic markers suggesting a biological connection between Zoe and Dr. Ethan Cole, who delivered her. The words hit like a thunderclap, echoing the storm of Zoe's birth night. Nia's mind reeled, the room spinning. Ethan, her ex-husband, Zoe's father? Impossible. She'd been with Malik during the conception window, a brief, reckless fling to escape her loneliness. But a memory flickered, a photography conference in Savannah 9 months ago. She'd been heartbroken, the anniversary of their lost son, Noah, weighing heavily. After too much wine at the hotel bar, she'd called Ethan, their first contact in over a year. They'd talked for hours, voices raw with old pain, and then more. A desperate night, a fleeting reconnection across the wreckage of their marriage. "It's likely a false positive," Dr. Patel continued, her tone kind but firm. "These markers can appear by chance, but hospital protocol requires further testing. Can you and Dr. Cole come in this week? Nia's throat closed, words failing her. Zoe stirred, her soft mewing pulling Nia back. Yes, she managed. I'll come in. I'll come. Hanging up, she stared at her phone, the screen fading to black. Her heart hammered as she looked at Zoe, sleeping unaware of the chaos threatening to reshape their world. Had that Savannah night created her daughter? The thought was impossible, yet it gnawed at her certainty. Nia's mind raced, replaying those days 9 months ago. Malik had been a distraction, charming but temporary, precisely what she'd needed after years of guarding her heart. But that weekend in Savannah came first, a blur of wine, tears, and Ethan's familiar touch. She'd woken in his hotel room, regret heavy as they parted without promises. She'd buried that night, convinced it was a mistake, a lapse in her carefully rebuilt life. Now, the hospital's call cracked that foundation, threatening the solitude she'd chosen for Zoe's sake. She stood, pacing the loft, passing framed photos of Atlanta's soul, jazz musicians in Castleberry Hill, kids playing in Centennial Olympic Park. The city had been her refuge, its community, neighbors sharing peach cobbler, church choirs lifting her spirits, her anchor. But Ethan's shadow loomed, his steady hands from that delivery room haunting her. She'd trusted him then, despite their past. Could he be Zoe's father? The question felt like a betrayal of her planned life. Yet a strange hope flickered, one she wasn't ready to face. Her phone buzzed again, an unknown number. Nia, Ethan's voice, unmistakable, strained with exhaustion. I just got a call from Dr. Patel. Nia closed her eyes, the weight of his words settling like a heavy blanket. Yeah, me too, she said, her voice sharp. This is impossible, Ethan. A long pause followed, filled only by Zoe's soft breathing. Do you remember Savannah? He asked, his voice quiet but piercing, because I do. Every moment. Nia's breath caught, the memory flooding back. His hotel room. How he'd looked at her, like she was his lifeline. It was a mistake, she whispered, but her conviction wavered. Maybe, Ethan said, but if she's ours, it wasn't a mistake. Nia looked at Zoe, her tiny features suddenly achingly familiar. Those curls, that stubborn chin. Did they echo Ethan's? She shook her head, pushing the thought away. We need the test, she said firmly. We need to know for sure. Ethan agreed, his voice heavy. I'll meet you at the hospital tomorrow. Nia hung up, her hands shaking, and sank beside Zoe's bouncer. Atlanta hummed outside. Traffic, distant sirens, the city's relentless rhythm. But her world balanced on a truth she wasn't ready to face. What a twist. A genetic mystery that could change everything for Nia and Ethan. If this shock's got you reeling, tap that like button to keep the story's pulse racing, and subscribe with the bell on for what's next. Is Zoe Ethan's? Share your predictions in the comments. I'm dying to know your thoughts. Part 8's coming, and it will test their hearts. Don't miss it. Hey, story fans, we're back in Atlanta, where Nia and Ethan grapple with a genetic bombshell that could rewrite their future. The tension's thick, and emotions are running high. If this twist has you hooked, smash that like button to keep the drama pulsing, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every heart-pounding moment. What's Nia feeling as she faces this truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm all in for your takes. Let's dive into the uncertainty. Nia sat in the sterile waiting area of Atlanta General's genetics lab, Zoe's carrier at her feet, the baby's soft snores a fragile anchor in the storm of her thoughts. The lab's white walls and fluorescent lights felt cold, a stark contrast to the warm hum of Atlanta outside. Jazz notes drifting from a nearby midtown festival, the scent of fried chicken wafting from a food truck parked across the street. Nia's hands shook as she adjusted Zoe's blanket, her mind replaying Dr. Patel's call. Genetic markers suggesting Ethan, her ex-husband, might be Zoe's father. The possibility gnawed at her, threatening the solitary life she'd built for her daughter in the West End's vibrant embrace. 3 months ago, Zoe's birth had brought Nia and Ethan together in a chaotic delivery room, rekindling memories of their broken marriage. Now, the Savannah night, a reckless, wine-fueled reunion 9 months prior, loomed like a ghost. Nia had convinced herself that Malik was Zoe's father, a brief fling meant to distract from her grief. But Savannah had been different. Ethan's touch, voice, and desperate grasp at what they'd lost. She'd been buried that night, but the hospital's call dragged it into the light. Zoe stirred, her tiny fist curling, and Nia's heart clenched. This child was hers, carried and birthed alone. Could she share hers? Footsteps echoed, and Ethan appeared across the waiting room. His usually crisp scrubs wrinkled, his dark hair mussed. His blue eyes met hers, shadowed with exhaustion, and something else. Hope, maybe, or fear. He hesitated, then approached, settling into the chair beside her, careful not to crowd Zoe's carrier. "How's she doing?" he asked, his voice soft, almost reverent. "Growing fast," Nia replied, her tone guarded. She adjusted Zoe's blanket again, a protective instinct kicking in. She smiled for real last week, not just gas. Ethan's face softened, a faint smile breaking through. "That's early. She's a quick learner." The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken questions. The lab's hum mingled with distant Atlanta sounds, traffic on Peachtree, laughter from the festival. Nia studied Ethan from the corner of her eye, searching for traces of Zoe in his features. The stubborn set of his jaw, the way his eyebrows furrowed when deep in thought. She'd once loved those details, back when they'd stroll the Beltline, sharing dreams over coffee from a Castleberry Hill cafe. They were strangers, bound by a possible truth neither was ready to face. "Ms. Thompson," Dr. Cole, a lab technician called, clipboard in hand. "We're ready." The testing was quick, cheek swabs for Nia and Ethan, a small blood draw for Zoe. When Zoe fussed, her cry sharp, Nia's heart twisted. Ethan instinctively reached out, stroking Zoe's cheek with one finger. "It's okay, little one," he murmured, and Zoe quieted, her dark eyes locking onto his with an intensity that stole Nia's breath. The technician smiled. "She likes you. Babies know good people." Ethan pulled back as if burned, and Nia turned away, pretending to organize Zoe's diaper bag for the 3rd time. "Results in 72 hours, the technician said. "Dr. Patel will call." Back in the waiting area, Nia and Ethan stood by the elevators. Zoe was asleep again, and her peaceful breathing was the only sound between them. The weight of their past pressed down, nights in their Decatur home, the silence after Noah's loss, the divorce that left Nia rebuilding in the West End's community of artists and neighbors. "Nia," Ethan began, running a hand through his hair. "I know this is complicated." Nia's laugh was bitter. "Complicated? That's one way to put it." She clutched Zoe's carrier, her protectiveness flaring. She said, "I don't want to lose her," her voice sharp. "She's mine, Ethan. I've raised her, loved her, alone." Ethan's eyes softened, but he didn't back down. "I'd never take her from you. If she's mine, I want to be part of her life." The elevator dinged, and Nia stepped inside, Ethan following. The small space felt suffocating, filled with unspoken words. As they descended, Ethan spoke again, his voice low. "That night in Savannah. Why did you call me?" Nia paused, keys in hand, Zoe's carrier heavy on her arm. The question stung, one she'd avoided for months. "I was lonely," she said finally, "and drunk, and missing us. What we were." The admission hung between them, raw and heavy. Ethan's eyes searched hers, but she turned away, focusing on buckling Zoe into the car seat. "We'll do the test," she said, her voice firm. "We'll deal with whatever it says." As she drove away, Atlanta's skyline glowed under a clearing sky. But Nia's heart was a storm, uncertain and fierce. What a moment. Nia and Ethan are staring down a truth that could change everything. If this tension's got you on edge, tap that like button to keep the story's heart racing, and subscribe with the bell on for what's next. Will the test confirm Ethan's role? Share your predictions in the comments. I'm dying to know your thoughts. Part 9's coming and a game changer. Don't miss it. Hey, story lovers, we're back in Atlanta, where Nia and Ethan are teetering on the edge of a life-altering truth. The genetic test results are in, and everything's about to change. If this drama's got you glued, hit that like button to keep the story's fire blazing, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every heart-wrenching moment. What will this verdict mean for Zoe? Drop your predictions in the comments. I'm buzzing to hear them. Let's face the truth. Nia sat at her kitchen table in her West End loft, sunlight glinting off her camera lenses, starkly contrasting the storm brewing in her chest. Zoe napped in her bouncer, her soft coos filling the quiet. 3 days had passed since the genetic testing at Atlanta General, and each hour crawled by with unbearable anticipation. Nia's phone sat beside her, silent but heavy with the weight of Dr. Patel's promised call. She'd spent the time editing photos, families laughing at Grant Park's summer markets, couples embracing by the Chattahoochee River. But her mind kept drifting to Savannah, to that reckless night with Ethan 9 months ago, a fleeting reunion that now threatened her carefully built world. The phone rang, shattering the silence. "Ms. Thompson, this is Dr. Sarah Patel," the voice said, calm but deliberate. "I have Zoe's test results." Nia's hands went numb, nearly dropping the phone. "Okay," she whispered, bracing herself. "The results are conclusive," Dr. Patel continued. "Dr. Ethan Cole is Zoe's biological father." The words echoed, drowning out Atlanta's hum. Traffic on Ralph David Abernathy, a neighbor's gospel music drifting through the walls. Nia's world tilted. The life she'd planned for Zoe, solo, protected, hers, shifting beneath her feet. Ethan, her ex-husband, was Zoe's father. "I know this is a shock," Dr. Patel said. "There are legal considerations, such as paternity acknowledgement and potential custody arrangements. Dr. Cole asked me to call you first, but he wants to speak when you're ready." Nia's voice caught. "I need time," she interrupted, hanging up before more could be said. She stared at Zoe, her daughter's tiny features, those curls, that stubborn chin, now achingly familiar, echoing Ethan's. She'd been so sure Malik was the father, a brief fling to numb her pain. But Savannah had changed everything, a night of wine and grief that wove their past into Zoe's existence. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Ethan. "Can we meet? We need to talk." Nia's fingers hovered, then typed, "My place, 1 hour." She stood, pacing the loft, her movements frantic. She straightened frames of her photography, West End block parties, kids dancing at Centennial Olympic Park, trying to ground herself in Atlanta's vibrancy. But the truth pressed in. Ethan wasn't just the doctor who delivered Zoe. He was her father. The life Nia had built, alone and fierce, now had to include him. When the doorbell rang, Nia was nursing Zoe on the couch, her daughter's warmth a fragile shield. She considered ignoring it and letting Ethan walk away. But Zoe unlatched, her dark eyes turning toward the door with curiosity. Nia sighed, opened it, and found Ethan standing there, his shirt untucked, his face etched with exhaustion. "Hi," he said, his voice soft. "Hi," she replied, stepping aside. The loft felt smaller with him in it, his presence a reminder of their Decatur days, shared breakfasts, laughter, love lost to grief. They moved to the kitchen, Nia busying herself with the coffee maker, while Ethan stood by the counter, his gaze fixed on Zoe. "She looks like you," he said quietly, "but she's got my hands, long fingers." Nia's heart raced, her protectiveness flaring. "What does this mean, Ethan?" she asked, her voice steady but sharp. "What do you want?" He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she remembered from their marriage. "I want to be her father," he said. "To know her, to be part of her life." Nia set the coffee pot down, her hands trembling. "And me? Do I get a say?" Ethan's eyes met hers, raw with emotion. "I'd never take her from you, Nia. We need to figure this out. Together." The word hung heavy, a challenge and a promise. Nia thought of Atlanta's community, neighbors sharing stories at Pascal's, artists collaborating in Cabbagetown. She'd leaned on that strength to raise Zoe alone. Sharing her now felt like losing something precious. "We need to talk about legalities," Ethan continued. "I spoke to a lawyer about paternity acknowledgement forms and custody options. I want to support her financially, emotionally, and in whatever way she needs." Nia nodded, her throat tight. "We'll meet with the lawyer next week," she said finally. "But this is about Zoe, not us." Ethan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Just Zoe," he agreed, but his eyes lingered, hinting at more. Nia turned away, focusing on Zoe's soft breathing, her anchor in this shifting world. As Ethan left, Nia held Zoe close, the city's rhythm, distant MARTA trains, laughter from a nearby park, grounding her. The verdict was in, but the path forward was uncertain. Could she trust Ethan to stay, to be the father Zoe deserved, without reopening old wounds? Atlanta's sun dipped low, casting long shadows, and Nia whispered to Zoe, "We'll figure it out, little one." But the question lingered. What would this new reality cost her heart? What a game changer. Ethan's Zoe's father, and Nia's world just shifted. If this verdict's got you reeling, tap that like button to keep the story's heart pounding, and subscribe with the bell for what's next. Can Nia share Zoe with Ethan? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm hooked on your predictions. Part 10's coming, and all about trust. Don't miss it. Hey, story fans. We're deep in Atlanta's heart, where Nia and Ethan are navigating the shock of Zoe's paternity. Trust is on the line, and emotions are raw. If this journey's got you hooked, smash that like button to keep the story's pulse strong, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every twist. Can Nia let Ethan in? Drop your predictions in the comments. I'm all in for your insights. Let's dive into this turning point. Nia sat on her West End loft floor, tears streaming as Zoe's cries pierced the air. The bouncer rocked furiously, Zoe's face red with inconsolable wails. For 2 hours, Nia had tried everything, feeding, changing, rocking, singing. But nothing soothed her daughter. The weight of single motherhood, amplified by Ethan's confirmed paternity, crushed her. Atlanta's vibrant hum, gospel choirs from a nearby church, laughter from a block party, felt distant, unable to reach her. 3 weeks after the genetic test results, Nia's world felt fragile. her resolve fraying under the pressure of sharing Zoe. The door clicked, and Nurse Evelyn stepped in, her gray braids neat, her eyes warm with concern. Since meeting Nia at a community health fair in Sweet Auburn, Evelyn has become a mentor, and her decades as a nurse and single mother have offered wisdom. "Oh, sugar," she said, kneeling beside Nia. "Rough day?" Nia nodded, her voice breaking. "She won't stop, Evelyn. I'm her mother. I should know what she needs." Evelyn's hand rested on Nia's shoulder, steady as Atlanta's oak trees. "You're enough, darling. But even mamas need help." Before Nia could respond, Ethan arrived, using the key she'd given him after their lawyer meeting. The paternity acknowledgement was filed, custody discussions underway, weekends with Ethan, shared expenses. He looked at Zoe, then Nia's tear-streaked face, and knelt beside the bouncer. "Hey, little one," he murmured, lifting Zoe with practiced ease. Her cries softened to hiccups, her tiny body relaxing against his chest. Nia stared, fresh tears welling. "How do you do that?" she whispered, her voice raw with defeat. Ethan sat beside her, Zoe nestled against him. "You're not failing, Nia," he said softly. "Sometimes babies need something different. It doesn't mean you're not enough." His words echoed Evelyn's, who nodded, her smile knowing. "He's right, sugar. I raised 2 boys alone. Some days, I cried harder than they did." Evelyn shared a story of her son's colicky nights and how she'd leaned on neighbors in Vine City for support. Atlanta's community had carried her, just as it had Nia through her photography, capturing moments at Pascal's or Centennial Olympic Park. Nia wiped her eyes, exhaustion more profound than sleep deprivation. "I'm so tired," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I love her, but I feel guilty for struggling. She's perfect, and I wanted her so much." Ethan's eyes softened, his free hand hovering before resting on her arm. "You're human, Nia, the strongest mother I've ever seen, but human." Zoe's hiccups faded, her eyes drifting shut, and Nia felt a pang. Jealousy, maybe, or relief that Ethan could calm her. Evelyn stood, her presence grounding. "You two need to talk, not just about Zoe. I'll be at the health fair if you need me." She left, her warmth lingering like Atlanta's summer breeze. Nia looked at Ethan, Zoe asleep in his arms. "I chose to do this alone," she said, her voice fierce, "because I thought I had to." Ethan's gaze was steady. "You don't anymore. I'm here. For her. For you. If you'll let me." The words hit hard, cracking Nia's defenses. She'd rebuilt her life after their divorce, finding strength in Atlanta's art scene, jazz clubs, and resilience. Sharing Zoe felt like surrendering that strength. She admitted, "I don't know how to trust you," her eyes meeting his. "Not after you shut me out when we lost Noah." Ethan's face tightened, old pain surfacing. "I was scared," he said, his voice rough. "I thought if I felt it, I'd break. I thought working, saving other babies, would balance it out. I was wrong, Nia. I left you alone in your grief." The admission hung heavy, a truth they'd avoided for years. Nia's tears fell again, but this time, they felt cleansing, like rain washing Atlanta's streets clean. "I needed you to grieve with me," she said, her voice soft but raw. "To hold me, not hide." Ethan nodded, his eyes glistening. "I know that now. I'm not going anywhere, Nia, for Zoe or us, if you'll give me a chance." Silence settled, filled only by Zoe's soft breaths. Nia thought of her next photography session, a family portrait at Piedmont Park, which was vital for her business. She'd planned to cancel, but she was unable to leave Zoe. "I have a shoot Saturday," she said finally. "Can you watch her?" 4 hours alone. Ethan's smile was cautious, but genuine. "I'm a doctor, Nia. I can handle one baby. Tell me what she needs." Nia hesitated, then nodded. She naps at 3, loves her organic formula, and gets fussy without Moon River in a low voice. Ethan chuckled, the sound easing the tension. "Got it. I'll call if anything's off." Nia met his gaze, trust flickering like a candle in Atlanta's evening glow. Maybe they could build something new. Wow, what a moment. Nia's walls are cracking, and Ethan's stepping up. If this trust building's got you emotional, tap that like button to keep the story's heart beating, and subscribe with the bell for what's next. Can they co-parent without old wounds reopening? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to know your predictions. Part 11's coming, and it's a heart-stopper. Don't miss it. Hey, story fans, we're back in Atlanta, where Nia and Ethan are finding their way through co-parenting Zoe, their bond growing stronger. A heart-stopping moment's coming. Can you feel it? If this tale's got your emotions soaring, smash that like button to keep the love alive, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on for every twist. Will Nia and Ethan find more than co-parenting? Drop your predictions in the comments. I'm buzzing to hear them. Let's dive into this pivotal moment. 6 months after Zoe's stormy birth, Nia walked beside Ethan through Piedmont Park, the spring sun casting golden light over Atlanta's skyline. Alert in her stroller, Zoe squealed at passing dogs, her tiny hands waving with delight. The park buzzed with life. Joggers on the trails, families picnicking near Lake Claramere, the distant beat of a drum circle echoing the city's vibrant pulse. Nia's heart felt lighter than in weeks, and Ethan's steady presence during Zoe's 6-month checkup was a quiet reassurance. Their co-parenting had found a rhythm. Shared weekends, late-night feedings, Ethan proving his commitment with every bottle and lullaby. At the doctor's office earlier, Dr. Patel praised Zoe's growth, bright eyes, and social smiles, charming everyone. Ethan had gifted Nia a silver locket, delicate and simple, tucked into his jacket pocket with a nervous smile. "For both of you," he'd said, his voice soft. Inside, a tiny photo of Zoe beamed on one side. On the other, an engraving read, "Our greatest joy." Nia's fingers traced the locket now, hanging against her chest, its weight a reminder of their shared past and uncertain future. She'd spent months guarding her heart, but Ethan's consistency, showing up for Zoe, for her, was chipping away at her walls. They settled on a bench near the playground, Zoe pointing at a squirrel with excited babbling. Nia laughed, her tension easing in Atlanta's warm embrace. Food trucks serving jerk chicken nearby, kids flying kites in the open fields. Ethan watched Zoe, his smile tender. "She's fearless," he said, his voice thick with pride, just like her mom. Nia's breath caught, the compliment stirring memories of their marriage nights in their Decatur bungalow, dreaming of a family. Losing Noah had shattered that dream, Ethan's silence driving them apart. But now, watching him with Zoe, she saw a man who'd grown, who was trying to mend what he'd broken. "I need to ask you something," Nia said, her fingers tightening on the locket. "That night in Savannah, when I called you..." She took a deep breath, the words heavy. "I lied when I said it was just wine and nostalgia." Ethan went still, his blue eyes searching hers. "What was it then?" Nia turned to face him, the park's sounds fading, children laughing, a saxophone drifting from a street performer. "It was love," she said. "I called you because I never stopped loving you. I was drunk enough to admit it, lonely enough to need you. Hearing your voice reminded me of everything good we had before grief broke us." Ethan's hand found hers, his thumb tracing her knuckles, a gesture so familiar it ached. "Nia," he said, his voice careful. I've loved you for 7 years. Delivering Zoe and seeing you with her reminded me why. You're stronger than anyone I know. Nia's heart raced, fear and hope warring. She continued that I've spent these months trying to keep this about Zoe, to be just co-parents, but watching you with her, seeing you show up even when I pushed you away, learning to trust you again. I've been lying to myself about what I want. What do you want? Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Nia looked at Zoe, her daughter's bright eyes mirroring the city's energy. She said, I want to try again. The words rushing out not just for Zoe, but for us. Because we've grown enough to do better this time, to take a second chance. Ethan's grip tightened, his eyes shining with cautious hope. Are you sure? Because I can't lose you again, Nia. I barely survived it the first time. I'm sure, she said, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. It may not work, or we won't mess up, but I want to try. Ethan lifted their joined hands, kissing her knuckles, the gesture soft but electric. Bored with their talk, Zoe let out an insistent babble, waving her arms. Nia laughed, stroking her daughter's curls. What do you think, little one? Should your parents give this a shot? Zoe clapped, her smile wide, as if cheering them on. Ethan chuckled, the sound warm. That's a yes. The sun dipped lower, painting Atlanta's sky pink and gold. They stood, Ethan pushing Zoe's stroller, Nia's hand brushing his arm. The park hummed, vendors selling sweet tea, couples strolling hand in hand, the city wrapping them in its rhythm. Nia felt hope, not fragile, but grounded, like the roots of Atlanta's oaks. Their path wouldn't be easy, trust to rebuild, wounds to heal, but it felt possible with Zoe's laughter and Ethan's steady presence. They were rewriting their story, one step at a time, in the city that had always been their home. What a heart melter. Nia's confession could change everything for her and Ethan. If this moment's got you swooning, tap that like button to keep the love burning, and subscribe with the bell on for the finale. Will their second chance last? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm hooked on your predictions. Part 12's coming, and a family affair. Don't miss it. Hey, story fans. We've reached the finale of Nia and Ethan's journey in Atlanta, where love, trust, and Zoe have woven them back together. Get ready for a heartwarming close. If this tale's moved you, smash that like button to celebrate their story, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell on to catch more. What's next for this family? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear them. Let's wrap up this epic. Nia and Ethan walked side by side through Atlanta General's parking garage. Zoe was asleep in her car seat, her soft breaths, a quiet rhythm. The spring air carried the scent of blooming magnolias, a nod to Atlanta's renewal. 6 months after Zoe's stormy birth, they were here for her checkup, a routine that felt anything but ordinary. Nia's fingers brushed the silver locket Ethan had given her, engraved with our greatest joy, symbolizing their fragile new beginning. The city hummed around them, street vendors calling out, Marta, trains rumbling, its pulse mirroring their tentative hope. Dr. Patel's office had been a whirlwind of measurements and smiles. Now sitting up and babbling, Zoe had charmed the staff with her bright eyes and infectious giggles. She's thriving, Dr. Patel said, her warm voice easing Nia's nerves. Ethan had held Zoe's hands during her vaccines, his touch gentle, while Nia stroked her curls, their coordination seamless after months of shared parenting. Custody was settled, alternating weekends and shared holidays. Ethan's support eased Nia's financial strain. Her upcoming exhibit at the Atlanta History Center, featuring photos of West End families, felt like a triumph, one Ethan had cheered her on for. As they reached Nia's loft, Ethan carried Zoe, her car seat swinging lightly. The space felt warmer with him. No longer just Nia's sanctuary, but a shared haven. Photos lined the walls. Kids at Sweet Auburn festivals, couples at Piedmont Park, testaments to Nia's art and Atlanta's spirit. Nurse Evelyn stopped by, her gray braids tucked under a colorful scarf, a reminder of the community that had supported Nia. "Y'all are building something special," she said, winking as she set down a homemade peach cobbler. "Takes a village, you know." Nia smiled, grateful for Evelyn's wisdom, forged through years of raising her kids in Vine City. They discussed practicalities over dinner, takeout from a Cabbagetown soul food joint, served on mismatched plates. Ethan would take Zoe for a weekend soon, giving Nia time to prepare her exhibit. "He promised I'll bring her to the opening," his eyes soft. "She'll be your biggest fan." In her high chair, Zoe babbled and tossed a spoon, her laughter filling the loft. Nia watched Ethan wipe her chin, his ease with their daughter a quiet marvel. Months ago, she'd feared sharing Zoe. Now, his presence felt like a gift, not a loss. "Welcome home," Nia whispered, the words slipping out as Ethan lifted Zoe from her chair, her sleepy head nestling against his shoulder. She wasn't sure who she meant, Zoe, Ethan, or all three, but the phrase felt right. Ethan's warm smile, warm over Zoe's curls, echoed their old Decatur days before grief tore them apart. Losing Noah had broken them, but Zoe, born in a storm, had brought them back. Their love wasn't perfect. It was work, communication, trust rebuilt through late-night talks and shared diaper changes. But it was real. Nia thought of Atlanta, its resilience woven into their story. The city's streets, lined with murals, alive with jazz clubs and food trucks, had held her through her darkest days. Now, it cradled their family, its rhythm a backdrop to their second chance. Evelyn lingered, sharing a story of her boy's first steps in a Grant Park backyard, her laughter blending with Zoe's sleepy coos. "You two keep showing up," she said, hugging Nia. "That's what makes a family." As she left, the loft settled into a quiet glow, Atlanta's skyline twinkling through the windows. Ethan set Zoe in her crib, his touch tender, and Nia stood beside him, their shoulders brushing. "We're doing this, aren't we?" she said, her voice soft. Ethan nodded, his hand finding hers. Together he said, "The word is a promise, not a question." Nia squeezed his hand, the locket warm against her chest. Their path wasn't smooth. Old wounds lingered. Trust was a daily choice. But with Zoe's laughter, Atlanta's embrace, and shared commitment, it felt like home. They were a family, reborn from shared blood and the courage to try again. As they sat on the couch, the city's sounds, distant sirens, a neighbor's music, wrapped around them. Nia leaned into Ethan, his arms steady around her. Zoe's crib rocked gently, her dreams untouched by the storms of their past. Through loss and love, Atlanta had carried them here to a moment where hope wasn't fragile, but rooted, like the city's ancient oaks. They'd face challenges, missteps, fears, the work of rebuilding. But for now, they were home, all three, finally and completely. What a finale! Nia, Ethan, and Zoe are a family reborn. How's that for a happy ending? If this conclusion's got your heart full, tap that like button to celebrate their journey, and subscribe with the bell on for more stories. What's next for this trio? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm hooked on your takes. Thanks for joining this ride. See you in the following tale.